Hello. Thank you for introduction. My name has been already said, so I will introduce a bit more my company and my projects. I'm in Bitcoin for quite long time. I started Bitcoin projects in 2010. It was the mining pool, as has been introduced already. And so I'm in Bitcoin for 4 years already. And thanks to my involvement in the project, I know I understood what's the main problem of people dealing with Bitcoins, maybe much better than anybody else. Just to say, Bitcoin's asset mining pool has around 800,000 of users. So we are dealing with quite a large user base. So I know a lot of user stories about hacked accounts and lost Bitcoins and so on. And that was the reason why we started the Trezor project, with the hardware wallet, and I will talk about it later. And CoinMap is a map of the world where you can find stores accepting Bitcoins worldwide. Actually, I had some notes in the presentation which I don't see there, so maybe I will have difficulties when changing the slides. So, firstly, I wanted to ask you, how many of you lost some Bitcoins? I know Alex was already talking about this, and it's really most common problem. It's losing access to Bitcoins is more common problem actually than be a victim of some theft or some hacker attack. Can I just ask you, how many of you lose it by losing private key? And how many of you lose them using Mt. Gox and other some services? Yeah. I see, a lot of you. So Bitcoin as a technology solves a lot of real problems, solves real issues with dealing in online economy. You know it's quite fast. It's really cheap. You can trade without any third party and so on. But actually, it introduced many other problems which people weren't aware of them before Bitcoin. Because thanks to Bitcoin, people are suddenly having something valuable on their common computers, on their personal computers. Just before Bitcoin, there was some movies from torrents, some photographs from vacation, cracked games, and so on. Actually. There wasn't anything what was valuable for hackers, and suddenly people are having Bitcoins or normal computers or on online wallets which are covered just by some easy password in the value of thousands of euros, and that's what's attracting all kind of hackers around the world. So the main problem is with the Bitcoin, everybody can be his own bank, but people are just not used to. They are just used to distribute some trust and use some online services. They really don't want to understand how the things works, and thanks to this, they underestimate the security, and or they are putting their Bitcoins to some other parties like Mt. Gox. So I think that Bitcoin, to succeed, people need to change their mind and understand how this that the Bitcoin is not changing the world, the financial world, but it also requires some changes in how people think about value, about their security. So. As I said, the most common problem is not losing coins thanks to hackers, but it's still the hacker issues are still the most covered by media and so on. You probably know about the Mt. Gox issue. Where something like 800,000 of Bitcoin has been lost in a single issue. It's really it was really a huge amount of money. So people, when dealing with Bitcoins, have actually two choices. First, they can trust trust with the Bitcoin management to some centralized party like online wallets, like Mt. Gox, like exchanges and so on, or they have to take their responsibility and learn something, learn how to use it properly. Problem with the central points, and specifically with the Mt. Gox, was that it wasn't anything which happened suddenly. There were a lot of discussions about people trusting Mt. Gox as a central authority, but the problem is that a lot of people think or they were thinking about Bitcoin like Mt. Gox is a Bitcoin. It was too big that some people didn't understand the difference between the main and at these times the only exchange and the Bitcoin as a project itself. So when I talked to some people, they were like, why to care about Bitcoins? Because if the Mt. Gox will be hacked, it will be over. So it will be the end of Bitcoin. So we see that they weren't true. It was false statement, because when Mt. Gox has been closed, it affected the price dramatically, but actually it helped spreading the value, spreading the remaining Bitcoins to other services, to other wallets, and it actually helped the infrastructure to grow, because it was the main lesson which we learned from putting Bitcoins to some central wallet. There were much more issues with web wallets like MyBitcoin. It was actually the first hack of this kind, where people lost a lot of money. And for example, Insta Wallet was quite interesting case, because Insta Wallet was really easy to use service providing Bitcoin wallets, and it works like you just went to the site, and it offers you unique URL which you bookmark in the browser, and every time you get into this page, you saw your wallet. So there were no logins, no passwords, nothing, just a unique URL. The problem with the Insta Wallet is that these links has been indexed by Google. So you see, every time you put the trust in some central authority, it may lead to some problem like this. And I trusted the people. They didn't make it. The owners of the installer, they didn't want this, but they just underestimated the power of Google and all these technologies around the web. So Well, so people started to take it responsibly, and they installed wallets and take their bitcoins on their computers. But as Alex in the previous talk stated, people are really lazy in doing backups, and these days it's like 2 years ago, maybe 3. It was really hard to do just one-time backup and forget about them. At these times, before HD wallets, as Alex presented in the talk before, it was necessary to do periodic backups during the use of the wallet. So there is a long, many stories about losing bitcoins thanks to missing backups. A year ago, there was a quite interesting story of guy finding his old computer in how to say the waste in the place where the city is collecting waste. Yeah. So he was spending weeks trying to find his computer, which has like 10,000 bitcoins or so or something like this. So. Actually, missing backups is most common problem. It's even worse than hacker attacks, except all-in-one issue. Its nickname. I know him. He was one of the first user of my pool, and he lose 25,000 of bitcoins just because he had a wallet on his gaming computer, and he installed some cracked game, and okay. As I mentioned previously, the problem with local computers is that it gets better. It's much better than using online wallets, but users need to change their way how they are dealing with it, because just before bitcoins, many of computers or personal computers has been misused for some sending spams or doing DDoS attacks to some other services or something like this, and people actually didn't care because well, the computer was still working, maybe the CPU consumption was a bit high, but people didn't realize anything is wrong. But when you have bitcoins there and they disappear, it hurts. So just one plug about the online wallets, because it's still the most common way of dealing with them. It's also because when new users are coming into Bitcoin, they are usually asking me which bank to choose to store their Bitcoins. It's just because they don't understand the difference between online banking and the traditional financial system and the Bitcoin. So they are thinking in the old way, and they are just looking for Coinbase, I don't know, some Bitstamp, and so on. So it's actually necessary to learn and repeat to them that Bitcoin is not a bank system, and unless you own the private key, you don't own your Bitcoin. And what's even worse, that online wallets are going slowly, but it's happening. They are slowly going hand in hand with the financial system, with government, and with the regulation. And the transaction censorship, it's actually quite new information. It's like 1 or 2 months old issue, and somebody using some online wallet, it doesn't matter, I don't want to say the name, send Bitcoin transaction to another wallet, and he just put the message label as terrorism, just for fun. And the transaction, I repeat, it was Bitcoin to Bitcoin transaction, and the transaction didn't go through. And he contacted the support, and they told him that it was suspicious because he mentioned that he's going to support terrorism. So this is exactly like the old financial system is working, and I know this personally when dealing with some amounts on bank system. Even if you own your or if you think that you own your money, when your money is managed by other party, you actually don't control them. So it's the same if you are dealing with financial transactions. Bank will ask you what's the source of the money, what's the purpose of the transaction, and so on. But there are even some limits on cash withdrawals and cash transactions and so on. And this is slowly getting into Bitcoin in these centralized services. So this is another reason why to stay away from this kind of services and just be responsible, take the responsibility and take care of your own money. Okay. Similar topic is that there appear some so-called hosted cold wallets, which is interesting. It goes each to other. It can't be really your own cold wallet, and it can't be hosted. And it's offered by some online services, some specialized vaults, Bitcoin vaults, or it's like an additional feature of some online wallets as well. And the problem is that the concept of hosted cold storages is that it protects your money against you. Actually, it doesn't mean that it protects your money against hackers, because the company which is sitting on your coins still have direct access to them. They still withdraw it, or they can be a target of some hacker or even some inside job in the company. And the security measures added to this cold storage is to prevent from misuse from the user itself. So it works like you ask for some transaction and it sends you an SMS, you need to confirm it, and there's still like 24 hours window when you can cancel the transaction and so on. So actually, I think this is just a marketing thing for the companies, but it really doesn't help in the security, which really matters, and it's the access to the private keys itself. By doing the inside job in companies like this is clearly possible. I have been myself target of inside job in my data center. My pool has been running on some hosted machines in UK and in France, and my own infrastructure was rock solid. I never had any successful attack directly into my infrastructure. But the problem is that the servers were managed, and there were some hardware consoles connected to it, and there were many attempts. Actually, I have been targeted 2 times. Independently in more data houses. somebody gains access to the machines, and then, of course, when you control physically the machine, you can do whatever you want on it. So this is not just about the trust in the company itself or in the leadership of the company, but every single sysadmin who is poorly paid have suddenly access to millions of dollars on the computer which he has direct access to. So inside job is real danger. And just for information, in this hack in UK, there were many services targeted. My pool was just one of them. I lost like 3,000 of coins in this incident. But Bitcoinica, which was exchange, which was using the same infrastructure, they lost 45,000 of bitcoins, just because somebody gains access physical to their server. Another popular thing which appeared this year is multisig or multi-signature transaction. This means that every transaction going out of your wallet needs to be signed by multiple parties or multiple devices. It's a really cool concept, and I'm all in. But the problem is current implementation in current multisig wallets, that it actually it helps a bit as a prevention from the hackers, but it makes all the user experience more complicated, because people just don't have just one private key or one password or one recovery sheet or something, but they need to maintain access to online account, for example, and the second device, like mobile phone with the complementary applications storing the second key for the signature. And I think this is in reality this is quite big problem, because as I said, people don't understand in deep how all this stuff works. And as far as I can say, on my pool, I'm using two-factor authentication for locking the payout address from the system. And so when you want to change the address to which the system is sending money, you need to know, you need to have the access to the web profile, to the web application, to your account, and you need to have application on your mobile phone which generates you one-time password which you put on the website. And when people are setting this on, it's opt-in feature, there is in bold, in big letters and so on, warning. Then you should make a backup of the seed for the second password factor. And because if you lose it, you can't change the payout address. Technically, we can change it for the user, but without the second factor, we can't be sure that he is the real owner. It's the purpose of the second factor authentication. And even if we are really clear about this, they should do the backup from all the support tickets on the pool. They are not about how to mine, or mining doesn't work, or why I have so many coins mined or so. It's all about access to second factor authentication. People are just ignorant about this, and I think that the year of multisig, which is doing now, will show that multisig itself isn't some magic bullet which solves all problems, because, well, it can reduce some thefts and losing coins thanks to hacker attacks, but the amount of losing coins because of losing access to some of the device will rise dramatically. And as Alex stated before, there are people which never admit they they make a mistake like this. So actually, there are even no estimation how much coins are simply lost from all the 13 millions of coins, but I'm quite sure that it's a really huge amount, because almost everybody around me lost some bitcoins already, and it was like 1,000 bitcoins and so on. So they are really huge amount. So Multisig is surely a perfect solution for advanced use cases, like controlling coins for a company, when more people need to confirm the transaction to prevent some losses from tests. But I don't think it's really useful for end user security. I will take this just shortly, because I already said most of this slide. When you are dealing with desktop, you just need to be sure that you are not infected, and then you are doing the backup, because when you lose the passphrase for the private key for the wallet or something, there's no forget password feature. If you forget the password, or if you lose the wallet file, you are done with your bitcoins. I told this already. Right now, the biggest problem is losing access to bitcoins, but this can actually change when Bitcoin will be more widespread. I think that I think the era of hacking attempts and so on will come soon. It's not that this is going to be less important. And because I'm dealing with bitcoins for 4 years, and I met a lot of people having some issues how to store bitcoins. I already, like 3 years ago, came with the idea of separate specialized hardware which should solve all these problems in one small package, which can be used by common user. So the user won't have just 2 choices: to use online services, or to become a security expert and secure its own computer. So after 2 years of development, I finally, with team of my colleagues in SatoshiLabs, came with the first Bitcoin hardware wallet, which I think solves all these issues mentioned previously. It's important to say that the Trezor is not a mobile solution. It's just a storage and signing device which can solve the problem of trust in untrusted computers, and it solves the question where to store the private keys. So Trezor is a device which is designed in the way that it never exposes private keys to the internet or to any other software except the signed firmware inside. It looks like this. It's a really small device. Actually, people are surprised that it's much smaller than it looks on the pictures. And our goal was just to make Bitcoin physical, because now you don't need to worry about some failures on the computer, or even some people are actually forgetting that they have Bitcoins on the computer. This happened to my friend two weeks ago. Then his computer crashed, and he put the computer to the service, and he came back after hard disk reformat. And then he was, oops, I forget it, I have a wallet there. And there was like 50 Bitcoins, so it's not something what I want to lose every day. And so we spend a lot of time recovering the private keys from the reformatted hard disk, and we were successful. But it isn't a rule. It was just luck. So actually, by having a Trezor or some other kind of hardware wallets, which will come in the future, I'm sure, you know that your Bitcoins are in your hand or in your pocket, and you actually don't care about anything else, because if you have Trezor or the paper backup, which is produced and which is enforced by the system to be produced during the setup, and the paper backup is just like 24 words, which you can put on some safe place in your house. You can be sure that as far as you store this piece of paper, you don't lose your Bitcoins. What's Trezor? What is not? There are some misconceptions that the Trezor is just a flash drive. So I can. So it's the same like using a flash drive with encrypted wallet file. It's not exactly true, because when you want to spend coins from your encrypted hard drive, you need to connect it to computer and put the passphrase over the keyboard. At this point, hacker which controls your computer have everything necessary to steal your Bitcoins from the computer. So it's not just a USB storage, but there's actually the display, small display, and hardware button. So when you are sending the transaction, you are on the computer. You prepare the transaction, which is not signed. You send it into the Trezor. The transaction summary will appear on the display, and if you agree with the display, you just confirm it by physical press of the button. So there's really no space for some kind of keyloggers or some malware, because so far viruses can't press buttons on the Trezor yet. And also, it's not just a hardware token like many of you are using for your bank, because actually the bank tokens have just one purpose. They identify you for the bank. So your bank owns the money, and you ask them for move your money to some other account, and you just use this token to tell that you are who you are. This is completely different, because with Trezor there's no other party involved in the Bitcoin transaction. So it's not like you confirm something on the Trezor, and it sends the request to some online service to do the transaction. It's everything is done directly in the computer itself. So there are some main points of the hardware design, and just to the end, I would like to sum all this up. And I think the most important thing in the Bitcoin to succeed in the future is just to learn and repeat once and once again to people that the Bitcoin is completely different anything before, and that you need to be your own bank. It's not just the option. It's actually it's necessary to accept the responsibility, and otherwise Bitcoin won't be anyhow different from any financial tool which we had before, and Trezor is just one kind of infrastructure which is slowly going to the market, which helps Bitcoin to succeed in the original idea of decentralized economy. And I believe more interesting stuff like Trezor, like Mycelium, and so on will really improve the online security in the next years in Bitcoin. Oh, last slide. Okay, thank you.